Farming. I couldn't farm. They took away the one thing that I really loved, and that was farming. That's what the USDA did.
He showed me a big tarp that had the words on it, "Nigger, go home."
The lack of commitment by too many people to not really caring whether we did justice or not.
Even as long as it's been, we've experienced discrimination for a very, very long time, and most people would have given up. To this date, I haven't given up, and I never will give up, until justice is served.
That's what my daddy would always say. He says I wasn't in trouble or anything. Everything was fine until I went up to defend my dad. And he says, what was I supposed to do? He says, I'm a man, and that's my daddy. I'm supposed to defend him.
He said, don't let USDA take my land. It was like anybody else, but just don't chew at the land. And we've done that. Nobody else has taken it either, but for sure the USDA will never get it. Quite frankly, I say that the United States Department of Agriculture murdered
them.
My mother and father and my brother.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Gary Johnson. I'm the founder of BlackMenInAmerica.com and the host of CalculationsTalkShow.com. I would like to introduce your host for this afternoon's show, the legendary Mr. Harold Bell. Mr. Bell is widely known in the Washington, D.C. area, but he's also known nationwide and around the world as a groundbreaker. He is the godfather of sports talk radio. He's written a couple of books. He was the first person, Black person, who hosted his own show in prime time on WRC TV4, an NBC affiliate in Washington, D.C. Harold and his wife, Hattie, founded a nonprofit for underserved youth to help kids in trouble. And that is the name of their organization, Kids in Trouble. For over 50 years, they've had toy drives. They've had parties to help support kids in trouble in their neighborhood. Harold's known as the godfather of sports, but he's also broken into politics where his friends and his reach is numerous. You may know him from his friendship with the legendary GOAT, the greatest of all time, Muhammad Ali, as you can see here in this photo here at Ali's camp. You also may see Michael Wilbon, James Brown, a number of people who come through Harold that he's mentored. Boxing historian Bert Sugar. You see politicians, Louis Stokes, Jim Brown, NFL Hall of Famer. It goes on and on. The late, great Red Auerbach, boxing great Tommy Hearns, Sugar Ray Leonard, Hammer and Hank Aaron. I can go on and on. So if you want to learn more about Harold Bell, you can visit BlackMenInAmerica.com and just go /Harold Bell, or just Google him. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce your host for this afternoon's show, Mr. Harold Bell.
Thank you, Gary. I'd like to welcome everyone to, of course, Zoom Sunday. So if it's Zoom Sunday, it is definitely Speak the Truth. Like Gary said, this is a special show, but it's not something that's new and familiar to us because we've been on the bandwagon of the Black farmer ever since my former teammate, a guy that I grew up with in Northeast Washington, gave us more background exactly what he had been doing with the Black farmers for decades now. He's a former employee of the USDA, and he is really the president of emeritus of the USDA Coalition of Minority Employees and Justice for the Black Farmers Group. Brother Lawrence has been their voice for several decades now, and he brought us into the fold about a year ago, and we've been on the case. So today's moderator, my co-host first, of course, is CJ, Christopher Johnson, but the moderator for today's show is my dear friend, longtime friend, Mr. Lawrence Lucas. How you doing, Lawrence?
Hello, glad to be here today.
Take it over, my brother.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bell. Thank you, Gary Johnson and CJ Johnson. Thank you, Speak the Truth, for allowing us to take up such a valuable time of your programming to talk about the issue of Black farmers. As Mr. Bell has indicated, we have been talking about this issue, and he's invited us in to this conversation that they have every Sunday. And today he offered us the opportunity to not just hear my voice, but hear the voices of Black farmers from around the country. I want to thank Speak the Truth again for having us on. I also want to thank all of the farmers and their advocates who are on the phone today on this Zoom call. I want to thank personally introduce my colleagues that have made the effort that we are engaged in with trying to change the landscape of the last plantation at the U.S. Department of Agriculture. I ordinarily introduce one person first, but I'm going to save her for last because she's going to be speaking next. But I want to thank Lloyd Wright, a member of our group, for being on today and the hard work he has put in and the struggle for Black farmers. Thank you, Lloyd, for being here. I also want to thank a gentleman from Texas, Wayman Henson. And Wayman has been a stalwart, an important factor in what we do. Wayman, I thank you for being on today. And the last but not least, I'm going to introduce our lightning rod, and that's Attorney Tracy Lloyd McCurdy. She has been keeping us on track. She has been an excellent role model for what we have to do and to continue to struggle and fight for Black farmers in this country and employees at the U.S. Department of Agriculture and all the racism and sexism that's been going on for decades. I would like to introduce my good friend and colleague who are going to kind of set the ground rules as to how we're going to proceed. But most important, we want all the speakers to be very short so we won't have to cut you off, because we have a lot of people on that we're going to try to get on to say a few words. So when we call on you to speak or you have an opportunity to speak, please make your your responses very short, brief, and to the point. I now would like to introduce, to get us going here this afternoon, Attorney Lloyd McCurdy. I thank you for being here. I thank you for all the work that you've been doing, and kind of give us an idea of what we should be talking about in this brief history and how we should proceed and talk about this issue of all the racism and sexism that's been going on at the U.S. Department of Agriculture for decades, and a little bit of history at the same time. Thank you.
Grand Rising, Mr. Lucas, and thank you so much for Speak the Truth, for creating this truth-telling space for beloved community to really discuss the war on Black farmers. When I was watching the trailer, A Layman for Justice, that documentary always moves me very deeply. And I think about how our Congress was able to immediately put together an aid package for the citizens of Ukraine. They're under war. And yet, this is the 25th year of the Pigford v. Glickman class action racial discrimination lawsuit, and Black farmers still have not received justice. One of the elder farmers, Mr. Eddie Slaughter, a farmer from Buena Vista, Georgia, he often likes to quote the Dred Scott decision. And I recall having a conversation with him, and I said, what made you go all the way back to Dred Scott? And he said, I was trying to figure out, how is it possible that Black farmers still have not received justice? And the reality is that this country still does not see us as fully human, as deserving of owning land, being stewards of land, our human rights, our right to our own liberation and destiny. And so I really wanted to acknowledge the fact that many of the farmers on this call, they've been fighting way longer than I have, and our work builds upon those advocacy efforts. I definitely want to acknowledge the Bates family that's here. Elder Bernard Bates, he transitioned to the land of the ancestors back in January. Like many of our Pigford legacy farmers, our Black legacy farmers, the mythology is that the Pigford lawsuit brought about restorative land justice for Black farmers, and we know that that is not the case. The facts of the matter are that at the conclusion of the lawsuit, the vast majority of Black farmers were left in debt, looming foreclosures, and with no legal recourse to save their land. Out of the $1 billion settlement, only 4.8% went to debt cancellation. And so over the last 25 years, our Black farmers have been representing themselves in federal court. And I wanted to just speak briefly about our efforts over the last 3 years. So I think it's really important for beloved community to know that our farmers have not received justice through the courts. And so we immediately tried to pursue another pathway. We started out with our advocacy efforts through the Justice for Black Farmers group led by Mr. Lucas, where we approached Senator Elizabeth Warren. At the time, she was running for president, and she had a narrow analysis about the culprit behind egregious land loss in the Black agrarian community. And so through our numerous communications with her, she was able to expand her view and zero in on the anti-Black racism policies of the USDA that has occurred since its inception. Then from there, we helped inform a very robust, comprehensive policy platform to eradicate institutional discrimination within USDA. That framework was used as the foundation for the Justice for Black Farmers Act that was introduced by Senator Cory Booker and then reintroduced again in 2021. What was significant about the Justice for Black Farmers Act is that we were able to secure language that would have eradicated the debt of our legacy farmers, handled the state and federal tax issue, the return of offsets. I hope that Brother Rod Bradshaw will be able to talk about debt offsets. What happened as a result of this debt not being canceled, USDA over the last 25 years has offset Black farmers' Social Security, disability, subsidy payments. Many Pigford legacy farmers haven't even been able to apply for these subsidy programs because they knew that USDA would just take those payments and apply it onto this unconscionable debt. From there, we knew that we couldn't get the votes to pass the Justice for Black Farmers Act. We needed 60 votes and we didn't have it. So then we started looking at budget reconciliation. My grandmother is fond of saying, always be Brer Rabbit. So we looked at budget reconciliation. And with the budget reconciliation package that Senator Reverend Warnock introduced, so he was inspired by the language in the Justice for Black Farmers Act and expanded debt cancellation to farmers of color. We'll have to get into that, why Congress did not have the political courage to just address the issue of race-based remediation for anti-Black racism. But we did not have that support, so then it was expanded to all farmers of color. So if we move forward with that, just in the timeline, I think it's important. There are two pieces that I want to leave with. After the American Rescue Plan Act was passed, which provided $5 billion, $4 billion in debt cancellation for farmers of color, and $1 billion to help restore the agricultural land bases of farmers of color, including technical assistance, cooperative development, and also direct payments to farmers for past discrimination. This was a very critical piece that we advocated for, and yet it's the piece that has not been implemented. After the American Rescue Plan Act was signed by President Biden, we learned that it was only 2,500 farmers out of 22,000 self-identifying Black, Indigenous, people of color farmers that would actually be eligible for debt cancellation. That's less than 8% of the Black agrarian community. At the time of our advocacy work, we thought that there were 17,000 Black farmers that were going to receive debt cancellation. And I think that's a critical piece, because what happened is that USDA, over this 25 years of suffering, tremendous suffering of Black farmers, they've been foreclosing on Black farmers. They forced Black farmers off their land to get loans from private institutions to pay off USDA, and then those private institutions turned around and foreclosed on the Black farmer. This is the history that we speak of when we talk about the rot within the US Department of Agriculture. Of course, there was lawsuits that were filed after 3 months of inaction by Secretary of Agriculture, Thomas Vilsack. This is his 10th year of misleadership with respect to Black farmers. And this is largely why many Black farmers did not want him to return for a third tenure, because we understood that we would not see the justice that we seek under his misleadership. So why do we say that? Again, it took him over 3 months to implement debt cancellation. And we know that he could have implemented the program more readily because he had been offsetting Black farmers' accounts during the Obama years and prior to the implementation of the American Rescue Plan Act, and offsetting their accounts. So why couldn't that debt have just been eliminated immediately? The other point that I want to end before we invite the participation of our farmers is that our coalition met with the Biden-Harris transition team back in 2020. And Elder Lloyd Wright actually wrote a Washington Post article stating, an op-ed piece stating that it would not be wise to bring Secretary Vilsack back for a third term. And what I'm going to share with you is going to illuminate why we hold that position. When we were speaking to the Biden-Harris transition team, we had various policy recommendations to alleviate the economic suffering, the acute economic suffering of Black farmers. One was debt cancellation, a foreclosure moratorium, direct payments, and a perpetual allocation in the $30 billion Commodity Credit Corporation Fund to help restore the Black agricultural land base. Now, Secretary Vilsack was the senior advisor to the Biden-Harris transition team. And what he countered with is, first, that the debt cancellation program was unconstitutional, right? So it became a self-fulfilling prophecy. And then the second thing he said was that we needed to establish an equity commission. Our coalition rejected that because we knew that this would just be another maneuver of Secretary Vilsack to hide around the veneer of BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color, participatory leadership in order to block these transformative changes that we wanted to enact during the first year of Biden's presidency. And so what has happened? It has been a self-fulfilling prophecy. Secretary Vilsack stated that that the debt cancellation program was unconstitutional. He slow-walked implementation, and then the lawsuits came. Then through his misleadership, he has pushed through this equity commission at a tune of $10 million that could have gone directly to Black farmers. And the reality is there are many members on the equity commission that aren't even aware of the 1997 crack report that was the precursor to the Pickford lawsuit, and that those 92 recommendations in the crack report were never implemented. So here we are. I hope that that provides a foundation for us to speak truthfully of what this government and USDA continues to do to Black farmers. It is still a war on the Black farmers.
Thank you very much, Tracy. I think that clarity that you've offered to all of us that are listening and the ones that have heard it, it resounds very deeply in our hearts and our minds while we are in this struggle. What I would like to do is kind of I'd like to know, with the farmers being on the line, and we have quite a few, I would like to turn the discussion to what the farmers think. What are they feeling? I don't want to know about their cases, but what I do want to know is, with this situation being what it is, why should we be having this discussion, number one? And number two, what is USDA doing to change the landscape? And what are the farmers, what can they do? So we have a farmer from Arkansas on. I think if we have a farmer from Arkansas would like to step up.
Evelyn Brown is from Arkansas.
Thank you.
I don't know if Mr. Carpenter is on or not, but I don't have a case in front of USDA at this time, but we have had previous cases with USDA, and they just, as far as I'm concerned, they just pushed them aside, because that led us to have to go to other institutions to get funded. And if USDA don't fund the Black farmers at this present stage, 10 years later, there won't be any Black farmers. They will all be gone. Because when you go to the bank, and then if you get behind for 1 month or 2 months with the bank, then they do the same thing that USDA was doing. Do whatever it takes to take your crop, or not to take your crop, but to take your land. In my eyes, the whole thing is to make sure that there is no Black farmers owning their own land. That's how I see it.
Thank you very much. I think we have another farmer from Arkansas on. The Abrams, you on today. What do you think we should be doing? I see the name of Josephine Abrams, and I see a farmer there. Can you speak up and give us your name and tell us what you think USDA needs to do in order to fix this problem, and what we should be doing together to fix the problem?
My name is Vilsack. I'm from Waynesboro, Georgia, and this is above USDA, and we had the opportunity to get Senator Warnock, Miss Marilyn, who worked on this staff, to give us the opportunity to, because we know it. This USDA ain't gonna solve it. So we said, let's go to his boss. So we, so Ms. Marinoff and Senator Warnock gave us the opportunity to talk, have a Zoom call with the White House about a couple of weeks ago. And they was trying to figure out what to do. So we said, we got all the suggestions that what could be done. It's just a matter of somebody doing it. So the first one we came up with, but he wanted to elaborate on section 0115, but we said, hold it, wait a minute, section 0016, there's no lawsuit against it. There's, and it's written in ink saying that it's there to take care of the Black farmers who has been in foreclosure and been discriminated against. Then we say, if you want to know the second thing you can do, you can automatically get him to do executive order and write it off. Then the third thing, and I was served on the FHA board, I mean, over 15 years just as an advisor, but I didn't have no say so because I didn't have enough votes, enough Blacks in to give enough votes to be a direct member. But I wrote off millions of dollars in our time. So we said that all you all have to do is just write the debt off. And it's not illegal to do that. And we gave them another suggestion. So we know it has been done because under the Trump and the Republican Party, we had 2 farmers from Georgia that they wrote their debt off. So these are some suggestions we gave them, but then they sent us 2 flunkies that couldn't do nothing, but just up there just on a pony show. But those are some things that could be done tomorrow. And then on top of it, the injunctive relief that they never gave us, that's another discrimination that are against the Pickford. We never got the injunctive relief, the Black farmers. So those are some of the things that could be done today if we could get to the right people to get it done. And we thought we go to the president, it could be done.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We may get back with you with another question. We have a farmer from, thank you very much, Mr. Abrams. We have a farmer from a family from Kansas. Is Bernard Bates, is the Bates family on? If so, I'd like for you to address some of the issues of what the farmers, how they're suffering and what needs to be done to fix this problem by USDA. Not getting a response. What about Carl Parker? Carl Parker?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Carl, let's go.
Yeah, well, I just want to piggyback off what Lucia Davis was saying on that Zoom call we had with members of the White House, and all that he wanted to talk about was the Equity Commission and those organizations that they trying to set up for outreach to the Black farmer. I said what we thought about those. I told them that ain't gonna do us a bit of good. What we need is the funds that already been appropriated in that 1006 to be given in direct payment to the Black farmers that have been discriminated against, like it said. And like Lucia said, all the other things that we told them that they could do and make it all tax free. We won't have no tax on it all. All it takes is a stroke of the pen to do these things, and they already know who we are and what we have been through already, how much we owe. I mean, it ain't no big deal. I mean, they make it out of something. They're trying to manipulate the system and think we crazy enough not to realize what's going on. And I think we may be getting their attention. I don't know, but we got to keep pressure on them, as much as we can. And if we plan on winning this thing or getting the Black farmer land back, if we're not, then they set in motion to try to go ahead and take it, like Vilsack tried to do at the end of last year to Black farmers to take their crop money and hold it, trying to get it applied to the debt. I told them at the White House that we don't know whether this was a test run to see what they can get away with or what happened, but these things need to be addressed and addressed publicly.
Thank you very much. Tell me something. You heard about this equity commission that's headed up by Tom Vilsack and kind of chaired by Dwayne Goldman out of USDA. Do you think the equity commission is going to help to solve the problem of Black farmers?
How can they help solve these problems? Only thing they are doing is having these meetings that's irrelevant to anything that we're trying to do. I mean, it was like Eddie Slaughter about that. That's a skin game. You put black people up there like you trying to help black people, and then you really ain't trying to help them. You just got them in the face of America saying, "Look what we doing," and you really ain't doing anything but sitting and waiting like a buzzard on a line to take these black farmer land, waiting on us to die.
I have another question, which is kind of, I'm getting ahead of myself. Do you feel as though our Black leadership has stepped up to the plate to help Black farmers? Has it been successful or has it failed us?
To get it to this point, we had the senator to step up to the plate to get it to this point. I mean, before they stepped up to the plate, there we didn't have anywhere. I mean, other than George Freeman. But to get us to this point, some of them, a few have stepped up to the plate. Now, where we go from here is the story.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's go to Alabama. Is Michael Stovall on the line? Michael, can you unmute yourself? Michael
Can you hear me?
Stovall, Alabama. Okay, Michael.
Well, he just muted himself. I think he did that accidentally. Michael, you need to unmute.
Stovall, are you there? Okay. We'll come back.
There he is. He just unmuted. He just unmuted.
Okay. Good. Okay, Michael.
It's wrong, man. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, Michael.
Okay. What's the question? I'm sorry.
Well, Michael, we want to know what can be done to fix the problem at USDA. What can we do together, and what can we do as individuals? And who's responsible for the mess that still continue against Black farmers today?
Well, we have a lot of people responsible for that issue because we have people in Congress, the House Ag, the Senate Ag, the President after President, Senator after Senator. We have a lot of leaders that allow the USDA to grease their pockets to make their lives comfortable and keep them hush-hush. So we have a lot of leaders all over the country that's doing that. And Black farmers don't have a chance at the table, a real chance, until we stand up and stand together unitedly and let the world know exactly what they continue to do to us.
Looks like we just lost him. He had a bad connection.
Okay.
I'd like to jump in here, Luke, and say that, I think you kind of touched on the edges of it, that I think Black farmers, when they started out, man, they had over 1 million acres of farmland. Now they're down to 45,000 acres, man, of Black folks all around this country having their land just taken away from them. We were promised 40 acres and a mule. Somebody's been lying. And one thing we got to remember, when someone shows you who they are, you got to believe them. And you got to believe Vilsack, who he is. What I can't understand, how is it that we can have an Obama administration, then we get a Trump administration, then we come back with Biden, who is now the president, who was the vice president under Obama. They knew who this man was. They knew what he was doing, and they still allowing him to head the USDA. So now, are they really? Do we really have spooks that are sitting by the door who are selling us out? Because I read somewhere where Warnock didn't want to talk to anyone but Georgia farmers. What kind of, you're a leader in this whole thing, and you only want to talk to people in your neighborhood? That don't make sense to me. Somebody, maybe I'm wrong. Somebody tell me what's happening.
Rod Bradshaw, welcome Bradshaw from Kansas. Rod, welcome to the show. And Mr. Bell just asked a very important question. We'd like for you to maybe start from there, but answer, what do we need to, we don't want to know about your case. What we want to know is, what should farmers and advocates and our Black leaders and the White House do about fixing this problem for Black farmers? We know you haven't gotten any debt relief. So what can happen? What needs to happen? Rod Bradshaw.
First of all, we need to get into the proper area where we can get paid, and Vilsack could pay us today if he would go into the CCC fund or into 1006, but he won't do that. He wants to hold us out and hold us out and hold us out, but he has the ability to make things right as we speak. Second, I don't think Vilsack really has our best interests at heart. I think it's going to take Biden or someone from the White House to step in and tell Vilsack to go ahead and do the right thing. He's not going to do it on his own. He demonstrated that. He's looking for a way to keep from paying us. So until Joe Biden gets, or the White House gets it in their head that Vilsack's not going to do it,
Can I say something?
Can you hear?
Yeah. Okay. Who wants to speak?
Evelyn Bryant in Arkansas.
Okay, Ms. Bryant. Go ahead, Ms. Bryant.
The Democrats have been depending on Black votes for years. We need to let them know, if they don't come through for the Black farmers, we can change our vote. If we're not getting anything, we might as well vote for the Republicans. They may step up and do something. But they're showing us that they're doing nothing but talking. If the president allocated X amount of dollars, then Vilsack has no other obligation, as far as I'm concerned, as far as my vote is concerned, but to disperse the money.
Thank you. Thank you. Harold, did you want to say something?
No, she's making a good point. You know, I mean, the president is right there. They the ones brought this man back. Biden brought this man back. He knew who this man was in the Obama administration. So why are the Black farmers still have to go through this same thing over and over again? Yeah, somebody got to step up besides Cory Booker and Elizabeth Warren. Somebody else has to step up.
And I agree with that. And one piece of that, Harold, and I want Bradshaw from Kansas to deal with this. Another piece of the debt relief. Many farmers have been suffering from offsets. I would like for my good friend in Kansas City, Rod Bradshaw, to just briefly tell us, what do they mean by offset, and how has this offset impacted you, Rod Bradshaw in Kansas?
The offset is whatever money that you have coming from the government. They target that money, and then they apply that money, supposedly apply it to your loan. But you don't get any income taxes, government payments, any subsidy payments whatsoever. And they took to date $186,500 and some from me already. And of that money, they took over $52,000 in a 12-month period. Now, when you take $52,000 out of your income in 12 months, that's going to impact you. That's going to impact you pretty hard. That supposedly they're working on straightening that out, but to date I haven't got a dime of that money back. And that money should be given back to us. It was taken illegally because the offsets were illegal, and that money should be given back to us plus interest. And anytime you have that kind of money on the table, you add interest, even at today's current rate, you're going to double the original amount. So, you know, they are intentionally impacting the ability of the black farmer to stay afloat.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to hear from Bates and family Bates in Kansas. Could you speak up and say a few words? And we want you to respond to some of the questions that we posed to the others. Bernard Bates, Bates family in Kansas. Unmute.
Yes, this is the Bates family. This is Carla speaking. My mom had stepped out, but she is back now. But, you know, one of the things I want to say is that I do agree that it's more than just the USDA. And I know, you know, Dad had always said that, you know, it could take, you know, an executive order or just the stroke of a pen. So, you know, for some of this to be changed. And so really why they haven't done that, I don't exactly know. You know, I know Dad had always said that really ultimately he felt that the goal was to eradicate the black farmer, to destroy him. And that's exactly really what they did to our family, the Bates family. There are 4 of us kids that are living, we're in our 40s and 50s, and we never got an opportunity to be able to farm. So that inheritance and that legacy for us as black farmers, I mean, you know, it was just done away with, you know, because they you know, they wouldn't even take payments from other people from Dad to be able to, you know, to pay off the debt or anything like that. So it's just been, you know, through all of this, it has just destroyed really the black farmer. And, you know, I listened to how they talk about how much land that we did used to have to where it is today. And it's just all unjust.
Okay, thank you. Abrams, there in, do you have any, we've been talking about this issue. I'd like to give you a chance to maybe add some, what do you think about what needs to happen, and how can USDA, should they be held responsible and accountable? And what about our leaders? What do you think about this? Lucius, unmute. Unmute. Unmute.
Lower left-hand corner.
Okay, he's gonna get a little help. Down in the lower left-hand corner, I want you to unmute. Right now, you're on mute.
There you go.
I'm good.
You good?
You're good.
Testing. One of the things, just like I say, you know, I mean, we know that Vilsack is not going to do anything, and that's why we say let's go to his boss, and we tried to do that, and that's why it's so important. We need to go look Joe Biden in his face. He lied, and all they talk about how they bragging on how the black votes, even in Georgia, where they put Senator Warnock in. I know a lot of them somewhat beat up on Senator Warnock, but the reason why he be responding like he do, because we be on him. And to be honest with you, all the other states who got farmers in there, every day somebody to be calling somebody over there in that office, letting them know that we're not gonna go away. But the thing of it, to address the problem, we gave them, we got the reason, we got the answers that could be done today. And Carl and I, and that's why we called the White House to get to Joe Biden, but we couldn't get to him. They put some little sisters on there to talk to. But we need to go look him in the face and tell him, hey, votes count. I'm a county commissioner. I got about 10,000 votes in my district, and people respect me for what I say and what I don't say. And we all got families, and most black folks got big families, 9, 10, 12 people in their families all across the country. So some kind of way we need to go and look him in his eyes. I know a lot of stuff going on across the country. I feel just like I'm like over there, like he done people be getting done in Russia. We are doing the same way over 25 years. And it was before that, because see, I was one of the named plaintiffs in the Pickford lawsuit who first filed the lawsuit against USDA. And I've been fighting, trying to for justice for Black farmers across the country for years. And before I got on the phone, a friend of mine's on it was Pickford and Brewington, and Mr. Brewington is badly sick now. You know what I mean? And him and I, we never got a hearing on the merits. And even I was talking to the White House the other day, a couple of weeks ago, I said, I need to understand, am I under the Constitution of the United States or am I not? Here we got all these laws set up. Pickford was set up. The Recovery Act was set up. The president has signed the bill. The Congress passed, the Senate passed. We still can't get nothing. Then you got Section 106 over there. Ain't nothing against it. So where we go? And we got 50 Black congressmen that won't open their mouth, got glue on. Come on. I mean, hey, I know I don't get personal here, but we are just like flowers in a flower pot. We just happen to be Black. And God look at us that way.
Thank you.
So
Mr. Abrams, let me ask you something. You say you got 10,000 votes. You in Georgia?
Yeah, I'm a county commissioner.
Okay, look, your man down there in Walnut he's barely leading Herschel Walker. And you gonna tell me you got 10,000 votes? You need to go to him and say, look, you want these 10,000 votes, or we give them to Herschel Walker. And just like the lady said, man, we got to step up. What is Clyburn doing? He's right there everywhere Joe Biden goes. You see him, he's the shadow. He's Black. Why doesn't he help the Black farmer? I haven't heard him say anything about the Black farmers, man. We got too many spooks that are sitting by the door that are holding us back. Not only with Black farmers, but across this country, man. We got to step up and call them out. That's the only way you're going to get their attention, Mr. Davis, is call them out, man.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's what I have been hammering on, letting them know, hey, we are not going to take this land down. We are going to go out and do what we need to do. Because if you can't represent us, we don't need you. We need
Mr. Bell, to piggyback on your point, I used to work in the West Wing of the White House, and I know how politics works, and I'm sure it hasn't changed. The President of the United States relies heavily on his closest advisors as to whether or not he is going to make a decision one way or the other. So I'm going to call out and just ask, what are some of his closest advisors like? You've already called out Warnock, but I'm talking about even closer, people that see him on a damn near daily basis. Cedric Richmond, what's his position? Susan Rice, what's their position? They are close to this. I mean, I'm just asking, Mr. Lucas, what do we know about those close advisors? Are they on the same page, or are they like what Mr. Bell said, quietly just going along with it?
We met with by phone with Cedric Richmond. He did call 3 or 4 months ago, but we sent him a whole host of voluminous amount of documents and evidence about what's going on with the Black farmers. And we have not heard anything. We had a conversation with him, and we've gotten absolutely no results. So we have people in the White House that's supposed to be representing America, and especially if they're Black, they should be representing our Black concerns, because Biden wouldn't be in the White House if it were not for the Black vote.
That's right.
And I do agree that with Mr. Abrams, there are consequences to them ignoring us, and there are consequences for them not adhering to many or addressing many of the issues and concerns. They want our vote, but when it comes down to giving us and treating us the same way, black farmers being treated the same way white farmers are, they seem to have amnesia. And I think there's a clip that talks about that. The young professor gave a piece that may, Gary, can you kind of drop that in here?
You talking about Jane Elliott?
Yes.
Claude. I'm talking about Claude.
No, he's talking about Jane Elliott.
Okay.
And I'll show you this one. She's a consultant. I used to work with her. It's a short clip. Take a look.
For you.
Let's go back and look at it from the beginning.
I want every white person in this room who would be happy to be treated as this society in general treats our citizens, our black citizens. If you, as a white person, would be happy to receive the same treatment that our black citizens do in this society, please stand. You didn't understand the directions. If you white folks want to be treated the way blacks are in this society, stand. Nobody's standing here. That says very plainly that you know what's happening. You know you don't want it for you. I want to know why you're so willing to accept it or to allow it to happen for others. I want.
Yeah, that says a mouthful right there. I used to end my sports talk show every Saturday by saying every black face I saw was not my brother and every white face was not my enemy. So, you know, we have to depend on some folks out there that don't look like us. But when we can't depend on the folks that look like us, man, we're in trouble. And that's what we are. These folks did not stand up in that audience because they no longer wear a hood over their heads or a robe. You understand? So now they're out in the open and you can see who they are. We got some black folks out there that are just as bad, man.
I have a question. We have your co-host is there, CJ Johnson. Here's a young man. CJ, you've been hearing a lot of the dialogue and the farmers. What do you see, and what should we be doing that we are not doing?
A lot of it is I see is what a lot of people pointed out. It's really the gridlock in DC and really the corruption and unresponsiveness of Washington DC when it comes to these issues. As he said, especially the Democratic Party, who is in control right now, they seem to elect to not use their power, even though they acknowledge they could, to help people, and that's just going to get them slaughtered in the elections. There was a mention of the poll earlier that I saw that Herschel Walker is up on Warnock right now in the polls in Georgia. Donald Trump is currently up on Kamala Harris and Joe Biden in presidential forecasts, even though it's early, but this is the direction that we're headed right now. So, and they can't even do these basic things. Like I said, they're constituents, and there needs to be a cost for them ignoring their constituency. There has to be some political cost, because right now they're very comfortable ignoring the voices of these black farmers, ignoring the voices of other groups and things that could help them, not just morally, but politically. So it is frustrating to see Biden lean on his advisors' worst impulses, honestly, and it's not going to help him or the Democratic Party moving forward. And we're going to have more Republicans in office, which is just going to make it even harder to get anything done in terms of progress. So I don't know what more can be done with this administration, honestly. It's going to be, like was stated before, to convince the Biden administration to take some sort of action, which seems to be the conundrum right now.
Yeah.
Thank you. Are there any black farmers on this call that I haven't been able to let in and say a few words? This will be a good time for you to speak up. Do we have any farmers that would like to say a few words that have not spoken yet?
Yeah, Dexter Davis.
Okay, Dexter, thank you, Dexter. Look, Dexter, you've been hearing about this. What is our alternative? What should we be saying to ourselves, and what should we be saying to our black leadership, and what should we be saying to this White House about what is continuing as what's continuing to happen to Black farmers and others across this country? Dexter?
Yes. For us as Black farmers, we know that we are few in number across this country. And what we need to do is use our lobbying positions. That's something we have neglected. But for us, our communities, getting them involved, the churches, because we need voting power. And we see when whites get together and they see a need, they go to Washington and lobby. They do not hesitate. We don't take that initiative. And, you know, for us, Black farmers getting things done, by the numbers that we are, we're so few, we can't make a difference. It takes a conservative effort. Everyone has to come in together outside of the farming business and things of that nature. So our families, communities, churches, as I said, need to do that. But USDA, they particularly know what needs to be done. They know our needs because we got a policy in position that they must abide by, but they just don't. They just totally neglect the Black. They discriminate, and they don't give us the same opportunity they offer to whites. So in our leaderships, the people that we put in those leadership positions, they just simply get there, basically wear a name, because they made a promise to get there and not doing what they was put there to do. They just, you know, it put us in a more precarious position because the opposition can see those things that are going on, so they can take complete advantage of, just like the lawsuits that were taken. Vilsack could have took that initiative to do just what he's supposed to have done, but he didn't. So therefore, that puts us in a position to where we had to put a concerted effort now to get our things in the vote for people that are going to look at our best interest. And our interest is simply to get in, you know, to do what's right and what's fair to us. You know, we're not asking for handouts or anything. We can do the same thing they do if you give us the same level playing field.
Hey man, we're running out of time, man. We're running out of time. And I don't want to go out here, man. We got to remember, man, that this is really us, man. That these politicians think they're fooling us. They think they're the only ones that know how to play the game. They're just in a position to make decisions, and a lot of us are not. I want to bring up my man, Eddie Claude here.
America's not unique in its sins as a country. We're not unique in our evils, to be honest with you. I think where we may be singular is a refusal to acknowledge them and the legends and myths we tell about our inherent, you know, goodness to hide and cover and conceal so that we can maintain a kind of willful ignorance that protects our innocence. See, the thing is that when the Tea Party was happening, we were saying, pundits, oh, it's just about economic populism. It's not about race. When people knew, social scientists were already writing that what was driving the Tea Party were anxieties about demographic shifts, that the country was changing, that they were seeing these racially ambiguous babies on Cheerios commercials, that the country wasn't quite feeling like it was a white nation anymore. And people were screaming from the top of their lungs, yo, this is not just simply economic populism. This is the ugly underbelly of the country. See, the thing is this, and I'll say this and I'll take the hit on it. There are communities that have had to bear the brunt of America confronting, white Americans confronting the danger of their innocence. And it happens every generation. So somehow we have to kind of, oh my God, is this who we are? And just again, here's another generation of babies. Think about it, a 2-year-old had his bones broken by 2 parents trying to shield him from being killed. A woman who has been married to this man for as long as I've been on the planet almost, lost her husband. For what? And so what we know is that the country has been playing politics for a long time on this hatred. We know this. So it's easy for us to place it all on Donald Trump's shoulders. It's easy for us to place Pittsburgh on his shoulders. It's easy for me to place Charlottesville on his shoulders. It's easy for us to place El Paso on his shoulders. This is us. And if we're going to get past this, we can't blame it on him. He's a manifestation of the ugliness that's in us. I've had the privilege of growing up in a tradition that didn't believe in the myths and the legends because we had to bear the brunt of them. Either we're going to change, Nicole, or we're going to do this again and again, and babies are going to have to grow up without mothers and fathers, uncles and aunts, friends, while we're trying to convince white folk to finally leave behind a history that will maybe, or embrace a history that might set them free from being white. Finally.
What else?
Thank you. Thank you,
Lord
Eddie
help
Clark.
us.
Thank
Hey there,
you.
I'm Chris Hayes.
That is a powerful piece. And once again, man, I just want to say, we got to step up and call them out, man. I don't care who they are. And Gary and Luke, who've been on this show, been doing this thing for years now. We had to call out AARP on scamming that is hurting senior citizens all over the country to the tune of over $2 billion. And they got all that money. They don't even have a fraud unit or where you can call to get some help. But by us bringing it up on each week that this is happening, they now have come out with a fraud unit, a place where you can call and get some help. You got to do the same thing with these politicians. You got to do the exact same thing, man. So, you know, like I say, every black face you see ain't your brother, and every white face ain't your enemy. These folks out here, I don't care if they're county executive, I don't care if they're mayor, they got to step up to the plate, man, because nobody is playing fair but black folks. That's the bottom line. So I want to go out here with the nomination that we have a new sheriff in town. And I'm talking about the new Supreme Court nominee, Kajanti Jackson Brown. Did you hear her acceptance speech after she went into office? She said she is coming from ancestors of slaves. And now that she's there, we all have made it. How many politicians do you hear step up and say something like that? How many of them do you hear say something like that? They creep into these positions and lay behind the door like spooks and go along to get along. So I want to bring everybody in and ask me, I would just want to ask you on the way out, take a minute and talk about our new Supreme Court justice. I think that she's going to be a dynamite lady. I know she's going to have a very difficult time in this new position, but you don't have to worry about her being a Clarence Thomas. Somebody pick it up. Got 1 minute.
Well, I think that it's very obvious that, and I've said this before, that she's very qualified for the position. And we're looking forward to her stepping in that seat and making a difference. And we hope that she's able to make a difference. When you're outnumbered in the court, as it stands now, her voice will be heard, but it will not be heard as well and with the definition that it will be heard when you have the responses coming from a very insensitive Democratic side of the Supreme Court. So we're hoping that she has nothing but success, but she has a rough road to hoe, but she can make a difference. When she makes her decisions and abstain and not follow the lead of some of the things that are not properly passed on by the Supreme Court, she has the option to add her words to it. And I think with that kind of clarity, I think it'll make a difference.
Okay. Next person.
I'd like to chime in. I don't think that she's going to make any difference. I don't think she's going to have an impact unless the court is loaded with more liberals. Her rulings in the past is favored not the common working man. I know she did the public defender stunt. A lot of lawyers do because they can't get hired at other law firms. They're not there a lot of times because they want to be. It's because big law firms don't choose to hire them. And so her blackness did not get her as far as she thought it would get her. She married a white man, in which I think is part of the reason why Biden has picked her. He seems to pick Black females who are married to white men. Biden is a cold-blooded racist who's still not doing, that's why he still got this guy Vilsack leading, or whatever his name is, leading the USDA. And that's not going to change. So you can have your hopes and dreams up all you want, but Ketanji Brown Jackson will not be there for Black people. And you might as well get used to it.
Okay, next.
But I hope that gets proven wrong, but I don't think so.
Okay, next. Come on, everybody step up. Come on down, you on. You on.
I agree totally with the guy that just spoke. Unless she make a change in her thinking, she's not going to be there to help Blacks. She might make a little difference, but not enough. And I'm for one, I'm glad that where she is, but she's going to have to make a decision in her own mind to turn this thing around. And she can do it, but will she?
Yeah, I think she can. Next.
What about Wayman? What about Wayman?
Wayman, yeah, Wayman's been out there. Where's Wayman?
Well, I've been following the Supreme Court thing, and I was really pretty stoked about her nomination. I was really disenchanted by the white Republican side who tried to nail Biden for making that particular nomination. I was embarrassed that one senator in particular from my state made himself look like the north end of the southbound jackass, both in the hearings and then once the nomination was completed. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I recognize that the new justice is only one of X number, and how can one change things? The conservative still has the majority, but I'm cautiously optimistic that there's a new day coming.
Okay. All right. Anybody else?
Yeah, like was stated, we still have a conservative court, which is going to gridlock things. But in terms of people saying that she's not going to help Black people, I think the thinking of the Biden administration is what it has always been, which is identity politics. They think helping the fact that she is Black, that is them saying, oh, that's us helping Black people. The fact that she's Black that should be your olive branch. You guys need to shut up. It's not about policy for them. It's never been about policy. It's been about tokenism. It's been about, having someone Black in a position of power to say, hey, here you go. But in terms of the policies, if we look at Biden and even back to Obama, the policies have never been for Black people. And the fact that Biden is not progressive. So even though, any nominee that he picks is not going to be progressive to any level, really. It's going to be more centrist and corporatist. And that's just where we are.
Okay. Anybody else?
Lucius,
so sad. It's so sad that as me, some familiar with serving on a board with we have two minorities and just two of us, and then we got three, and we got to get a swing vote to get anything done. So her odds are very short because for me to get anything done on our board of commission, I got to get a swing vote. And if she can't get a swing vote, we're gonna be sitting out in the water waiting another 100 years. Gonna be honest with you, it'll be straight.
Okay. Anybody else?
If we don't team up, all states team up, jump on these politicians and let them know what we demand, we ain't gonna get nothing done. This ain't a one-man show. This is the whole United States of America. When we fight for one another. And unless we jump on these senators and these congressmen in each one of these states and get them to hear our voice, we ain't gonna be able to go nowhere.
Okay, Gary.
What do you think? They got Lloyd there. Lloyd right down the bottom.
Okay, Lloyd.
Well, on the positive side, we were able to save that seat. And the thing that I've said about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she gave a good pail of milk and then she kicked it over. Everything she worked for, we're going to lose because she stayed around too long. So I'm positive about the fact that someone convinced a Supreme Court justice not to stay around and die in position when the Republicans might be in charge. Because right now, If we had saved Ruth Bader's job, it would be 4 to 5 Republican, but Roberts occasionally sides with the Democrats. So we would have a pretty good court if she had done what we have in place now. So I'm very upbeat about the fact we didn't lose another seat, because they've told you that if it was 2 years to go and they were in charge of the Senate, they wouldn't have a hearing. So I want to feel good about the fact that we saved this seat.
Okay. Gary.
CJ made the case pretty clear about where we are with her. I'm with Wayman in that I'm optimistic because it is a lifetime appointment. And on occasion, once they know that they're there, they do swing and make different judgments that people don't expect, knowing that it's a lifetime position. So I'm optimistic that, you know, as they used to say, maybe it looks like she's had some good home training. So maybe we can get a couple decisions, and then she may even be able to sway some votes our way, making it when they get in those backdoor rooms. I'm more concerned with Justice Thomas and his situation with his spouse and their nocturnal discussions that have me a little troubled.
Well, I want to say this, man. You know that this lady, I don't who she loves and who she marries. I don't care. I look at the human being, and I look at what she said after she was confirmed. She said she was daunted by the idea of being a role model to so many that she was ready for the task. She paraphrased Maya Angelou. She said, "Still I rise," underscore her point. "I do so now while bringing the gifts of my ancestors that gave me. I am the dream and the hope of the slave." Now that tells you something right there. And like Gary said, a lot of those folks who Trump had put in there, a lot of them had gone against him in some of these rulings. So you don't think that this may have a possibility down the line. I would rather have her. I'm more concerned, just like Gary said, I'm more concerned about Clarence Thomas and where he and his spouse are coming from. I want to take, as we go out here, I want to take my hat off to Cory Booker, man, because he really stood up, man, when it came to the Black farmer. He stood up at the nomination of this our next Supreme Court jurors. We need more Black men like Cory Booker. We need more white folks like Elizabeth Warren, man. We are all in this together. Until we learn that and quit playing these games with each other, man, we will still be behind the 8 ball. Okay.
Well, Harold Bell, I want to thank you for having and inviting the Black farmers to come on this show. I look forward to maybe doing this again soon, but I want to say thank you, the producers and your co-hosts. And I like to thank all my colleagues and all the farmers that have taken time out today. But I want to thank you and Speak the Truth for wanting to bring this issue to the American public and call it like it really is, and don't paint it with something else besides reality and not myths. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, we out of here, man.
Take us out, Mr. Bell. Take us out like you always do. What's your tagline?
Just remember, every Black face you see is not your brother. Every white face is not your enemy. And remember, you cannot soar with eagles if you're hanging out with chickens. And a lot of us are hanging out with chickens. Until next time, I'm Harold Bell.
Be safe, everybody. This concludes our show.